We are back with week 3 of our 7-year look back at what God has been doing in and through First Church. And this week's focus will be on finances and property. And I am pretty amazed at how blessed we have been in those areas. When I arrived in the summer of 2015, I was informed that congregational pledges covered little more than half the approved budget, and that many members had refused to pledge, though many kept giving, due to the conflict the church had been experiencing. In addition, lingering debt from the 2007 renovations amounted to $2.7 million. The financial progress since then has really been remarkable. Pledges and giving have stabilized and have continued to support a growing budget, ending the last 5 years in a row with budget surpluses, even in the midst of COVID. All $2.7 million of our debt was paid off this past January of 2022, so that our congregation is now debt-free. Our family of funds, the endowment, grew from $2.4 million in July 2015 to $5.3 million by the end of 2021. Now, it's down a bit because of the stock market, but we trust it'll come back. Much credit must be given to the long history of First Church pastors and leaders working to cultivate generosity and to encourage folks to remember the church in their will. We have seen household giving rise, even as the number of giving units has declined. We've also seen a rise in the number of persons choosing to include the church in their estate planning, something that's now being encouraged through our new Legacy Society initiative. Well, let's talk a little bit about the physical plant, our church facilities, which of course are not just bricks and mortar, but they really are the base of mission for all that we do. Our sprawling church complex, as well as the 2 apartment buildings and the parking lot we own, can create some daunting challenges to maintain and repair. Our board of trustees and our mighty folk, our volunteer group of handy men and handy women, do some amazing work, and they save us significant money by giving many hours of service. Major repairs and upgrades have been made to our sanctuary sound system and video capabilities for live streaming, as well as to our pipe organ, which went through a restoration in 2019 that cost more than $377,000. That same year, serious problems with our 130-year-old stone towers came to light. Thanks to the blessing of a significant bequest and the commitment of our trustees and our financial team, more than $1 million worth of structural repairs were completed by late last year. Now, less costly but more noticeable were the recovery from a closed Boston church and the restoration in 2020 of 2 historic stained glass windows commemorating women in mission, at a cost of about $20,000. One is in our chapel and the other is over by the main staircase. Another noteworthy improvement was the installation here, just outside our sanctuary, of a columbarium for the inurnment of ashes. It's something that had been talked about for many years, but was finally built and dedicated in 2021 at a cost of about $60,000. In many ways, our facilities arguably are in the best shape overall they have been for many years. And the trustees have recently assembled a 10-year plan for ongoing maintenance, repairs, and planned renovations. Well, that's a thumbnail sketch of matters relating to finance and buildings, and so this video is maybe a bit shorter than the others so far. But I would like to take a moment to emphasize again that all of these wonderful accomplishments can be attributed to 2 sources. First and foremost, to the grace of God, who has called this body of Christian believers to serve the city and the environs of Lancaster more than 200 years ago. And this is actually the 3rd building and the 2nd site that this congregation has had over the years. But God has always raised up the people with the expertise we needed and the resources to heed that call and to fulfill that mission. And the 2nd source, of course, has been you, the people of God, in saying yes to the Lord's summons to such a time as this. There are so many gifts in this congregation, and the beautiful piece is that so many of you are willing to use them to serve Christ here. In 1 Corinthians, Paul uses the image of the body of Christ to talk about the various gifts which God distributes to members of the body to enable the whole to function and to bear witness to his love in word and deed. Those gifts include things like preaching and teaching, to be sure, but there are many other gifts as well. And that includes folks who know how to do painting and repairs, or run a meeting, or raise money. And all of that is every bit as necessary for the whole body to function and accomplish God's purposes. Sometimes buildings and budgets don't seem all that exciting or spiritual to talk about, but they are the bone structure, you might say, of the body, without which you couldn't do much. of anything. So thank you. And thanks be to God for his faithfulness to us in so many ways. Next week will be the final video in this series. See you then.